just want to hit you on a few other sports headlines that have gone down over the last couple of weeks, starting with the Baseball Hall of Fame Cooperstown class of 2017. What'd you think of it?
Well, I think we're at a point now where resistance is futile. And a lot of people have misread my position from the start. I was one of the very first members of the media, dating back before the turn of this century, to raise significant questions about performance-enhancing drugs, about what they were doing to the record books, about the authenticity of the performances we were seeing, about what it was doing to generational comparisons, which, while always tricky, are more legitimate and more interesting in baseball than in other sports. I've always been in that camp. On the other hand, I was never one who wanted to punish people unduly. So I always said from the start that I put Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds in kind of a different category, where if I were a voter, and as you know, it's only writers who vote, but if I were a voter, I probably would withhold my vote for a year or two as kind of a protest or an acknowledgement that they weren't entirely legit, at least for part of their careers. But then ultimately I would have voted for them because they weren't just Hall of Fame worthy on their natural merits and on what they had achieved before the evidence indicates they might have turned to performance-enhancing drugs. Before that, they were inner circle, first ballot, in the argument for greatest of all time on the short list type Hall of Famers. So I made distinctions between them and someone like, let's say, Sammy Sosa and Rafael Palmeiro. And not a base runner, and at least once, maybe twice, openly quit on a team because he was upset with the circumstances surrounding those teams. So as great as he was as a hitter, one of the greatest right-hand hitters of my lifetime, I could justify not voting for Manny Ramirez. And maybe the same thing is true of Alex Rodriguez, which is a pity because on his natural merits, had he been injury-free, he would have been a Hall of Famer easy. He would have waltzed into the Hall of Fame. Anybody could have seen that when he was 19 years old, that he was bound for all-time greatness. But it's proven and acknowledged that after the rules were in place, he broke those rules. So you could make a case that you could put him in a different category. Now, having said all that, Mike Piazza, with suspicions only, is in. Because he's in, that accounts for why Bagwell and Ivan Rodriguez got in. So on that basis, how long can you keep Clemens and Bonds out? They still got 5 more years left. They've broken the 50% barrier. I think they'll move closer to 75%. And since a lot of Hall of Fame voting is based not just on your own feeling about whether this person meets your own Hall of Fame standards, a lot of it is based on, is this person as worthy as some who are already in? Well, if some who are already proven to have used performance-enhancing drugs or by common sense suspected of using performance-enhancing drugs are already in, how are you going to justify keeping the others out? I'm glad. People say to me, don't you wish you had a Hall of Fame vote? I'm actually glad I don't, because I don't know what the logical basis is anymore for saying yes to this guy and no to that guy. It's such a hodgepodge now.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.